have a Kenwood DMX1057XR, and on mine, for some reason, that voice button popped off. So it was under warranty, but when I called Kenwood, they said they're not responsible for physical damage, even though it seemed to pop off under normal use. But they would sell me for about $50 the replacement frame. Just thought I'd put this together because, and there's your part number right there, ordered from East Coast for the Kenwood. After taking the Kenwood out, I was kind of amazed at the amount of disassembly that was required to get into this. So here we go. Once you get your panel off, which you should be able to do if you put it in, go ahead and remove the 4 screws on this, then use some sort of spudging tool or something to get under the top edge, pop that, and remove that. Once you get that off, you can then get to the rest of the screws on the side and underneath this unit. Once you remove all the screws there, carefully pull this unit down, and you're going to see 2 screws on that ribbon cable, which I've already removed, and bring it up. Now, I've already done this. I'm just showing you. Once you get that and this ribbon cable here, gently pop up the latch right there, that black latch, and the ribbon cable will come out. Just remember, this is critical. You must get this right when you're reassembling. So kind of put that right above where you're working. Once you get that done and you have all the rest of those screws out, you're then going to need to, again, use some sort of a plastic tool and work your way around on this edge in order to remove that back cover. At this point, you'll be able to start to see the mass of screws that you're going to have to do in order to replace this. Let me put this one, this is the new one now, underneath. And you can see, and you can count around, I believe there was 17, some of the screws that are going to have to come out. 2 there, 2 here, and then all the way around. You're going to see these tiny little screws. You have to remove all of those screws. Okay, once you get all the screws out, and there is a lot of screws, again, you're going to have to pop that and remove this, because that goes through that little slot at the top. Then remove, again, gently popping up the latch, those 2 ribbon cables. You can then gently remove and place carefully somewhere that. At this point, you should be down to almost there. Yeah, I know I really need a cameraman, but then, if you can, remove this. You can remove the 2 white plastics and then those 2 screws there in order to remove that centerpiece. Okay, this next step, by the way, is where the real magic happens, you might say. I'm starting to remove the frame, but don't just try to remove it from the front glass. You will end up breaking your front glass if you're not lucky. So the key is to heat it up. I'm just using an old hair dryer. Heat it up gently, work your way around slowly, and slowly put pressure on. You'll see that there's an adhesive line going right along there. And I'm almost done, so let me finish this up. And after several minutes, success. you'll note that some of the tape has stayed there. If you choose to replace that tape, it is available, Amazon, whatever. But I'm just going to reuse what we have. Plus the replacement part does have some adhesion on that side. You can see the clear strips that are covering it right now. So let's work on some reassembly. Okay, remember you got that through the little slot. Put on that small black piece that we took off with these 2 screws. That covers the front, and 2 white covers. Next, we're going to reassemble that main unit. Just as a tip, set everything in place before you start reattaching all the cables to make sure you got all the pieces. They should fit in nicely. And the first thing we're going to do is reinstall these 2 standoffs. Yeah, good luck focusing on that, huh? There we go. So those are going to go right in the sides. And then we'll start putting the screws in around. Okay, after all the little screws are put back in, now we can start reassembling those ribbon cables. And you're going to be very gently, make sure it's aligned properly. And once you, I don't know if I can do this one-handed, but you're just going to gently push down on that lever. Same with this one here, which I've already done, and this one down here. All right, so at this point, we've got ribbon cables back attached. Well, all the screws are in on the perimeter. Make sure you don't forget any of these little pieces down in here. Okay. And then we'll reassemble this, putting the back cover on, and then we'll get this module and we'll establish the connection there on that ribbon cable. Okay, once you've got the ribbon cable plugged in there again, don't forget you're going to bring this back before you put the screws in. Gently slide it just far enough in order to put it back on the rails. There we go. And then once you get there, you can put those screws in. Once you've got that, make sure the ribbon cable folds nicely in there. Then you can start putting the black screws back on this part of the case. Pop this back on. Goes right there. Put those final screws in, and you'll be just about ready. Okay, screws all in. Again, that's the part number that I did. Last bit, turn it over, and throw the knob back on. There we go. Okay. We'll go throw it back in the dash. All right, we've got the head unit back together. Voice button, and everything else seems to be okay. Now for the test. Oh, nice.
As hiking, playing with their kids and grandkids.
Looks like touch is working. Beautiful. Sorry about that video cut up, but when CarPlay kicks in, it won't allow me to video because it thinks I'm driving. Anyways, everything's back together. It works great. For me, because this unit is less than a year old for me, it was well worth it to get the voice button back. So good luck if you choose to do it, and hopefully it works well for you. And for those that were wondering what was wrong with the old one, as you can see, this button, which is the voice button, the cover popped off, and I never found it, so I couldn't even find it and try to glue it back on. So well worth it to me, but if you're nervous about tiny little screws or ribbon cables or anything like that, you might not want to attempt this one. It wasn't the easiest from that point of view. Good luck.